Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. William J. Worthington, Director of the Institute for Family Business at Baylor University, where we conduct research, outreach, and teaching to family-owned businesses here in the state of Texas while promoting the tenets of firm family and faith on a global scale, while encouraging all to put faith back on the table. And we do that here through a variety of ways and means, including our new one here with our YouTube channel, video podcast that we're going to share through our social media sites. And this is really the first opportunity for us to give this media a try. And I gave you an update video. You may have seen that here not too long ago. That was last week. And so this is the first foray, though, into the new format that we'd like to introduce into 2018. I'm going to start this one in 2017 and get rid of the bugs by the time we launch this more appropriately in the new year. Hopefully we'll have our systems down and the quality of our audio and video where we want it to be. But really with the intent here is to kind of walk you through what's new in family business, and I'd like to do this monthly, maybe even weekly, frankly, and just kind of bring you through what's new in family business. I don't want to have a terribly long video, or you may be listening to this in the audio podcast format, but just walk you through what's new, what's happening around the world on the headlines across the globe with respect to family business and family business issues. So what you see in front of you, if you're looking on the screen or watching this on YouTube or through our YouTube links via Facebook group or via our Twitter page, maybe you're even linking through this through our newsletter. If you'll see the video, you'll see up top the Outlook through Google Chrome there. You'll see the different tabs of some of the sources I found over this past week. These are highly relevant activities that are occurring right now in family business, and I think I found them quite interesting. This is I've culled through dozens and dozens. I think these are some of the most interesting ones that are occurring right now around the planet. So let me walk you through them real quick. I don't want to take too long on this one, but for example, just to give you the ubiquitous nature of family business, here's the Financial Times, and they were reporting last week on business schools teach what you can't learn from your parents. And it's an interesting article in the Financial Times. Of course, the Financial Times, one of the world's premier business news magazines out there, or newspapers out there. I'd say I prefer the Wall Street Journal just a little bit to the Financial Times, but I know many of my international colleagues prefer the Financial Times. So here you go. Here is the Financial Times talking about family businesses, and they're dealing with the question, does it make sense to send your next generation to undergrad or MBA? This particular article is talking about MBAs. It doesn't make sense in this day and age where so much information is available through Khan Academy and MOOCs and other online courses like Coursera and New Kajabi. Should they just take a course and learn what they need to learn directly, or does it still make sense to send them to the university for an undergraduate degree, for a master's degree? Well, I'm a college professor, so I'm going to have ties pretty closely to what I think are right. I think it boils down, though, to one simple question, really, with the dichotomy on there, two different ends. Do you need training, or do you need education? And which do you value most? If you need training, then it makes sense to me to just send them to wherever they need to learn that particular skill set. And that could be an online course just as easily as it can mean going to a trade school, which is a little bit more involved. But if you're seeking education, I think that's where the university comes into play, and that's ultimately the job of the university, and that's why you send your kids to the university. So, for example, if your next gen needs help with double entry accounting or how to use QuickBooks, you don't need to send them to a degree plan to learn that. You can learn that online. You can get Coursera classes. Heck, you can go to YouTube and search YouTube and learn a ton that way. It's disconnected. It's not a very fun experience with that disorganization of material there, but you could do it. If, however, you value education for your kids, then I think the university is the best route to go. I say that because the world is a changing place, and as the world changes and as norms change and as systems change, that's where education comes into play, because it teaches them how to learn. The educational system process teaches them how to engage, how to learn, how to search, how to critically think and solve problems. And as the world changes, they're going to need to learn new skills, and they're going to need to learn which skills they need to learn before they even learn the new skills. And I could go on for an hour on this one, so I'm going to stop and basically say that's what it boils down to. But to the point, though, neat article on discussing some ins and outs, and I'm going to scroll you down here to a really cool embedded video. This is a 4-minute video about the Wallenberg family, And this is an interesting video, and it's worth the link alone, which I will post down here in the comments. I'll post the links to all 5 of these tabs. You should click on there and watch this video. And if you're an incumbent of a family business and you're trying to figure out what the next gen is going to do or not going to do, it might be interesting to listen to this video and see how the Wallenbergs handle this and how they put everything into a family trust and then run the trust as opposed to running the firm. A little bit different there. So you can read the interview with them and see if that trips any new ideas for you in your particular situation. Next tab here is from the Hollywood Reporter, and I can promise you I'm not going to give you many tabs from People magazine or the Hollywood Reporter because I'm not really interested in that kind of pop culture approach to anything. However, this particular article, it's a little bit dicey and spicy. It's trying to get you up into someone else's personal business a little bit. However, it does an interesting job weaving the ins and outs in the soap opera story playing out with Robert Murdoch's family, with Rupert Murdoch's family, with the launch of Disney purchasing Fox. So the Rupert Murdoch and his family owned the Fox Corporation, Fox News, Fox Media, many of the other sources out there, valued at somewhere around $50 billion. And so you can imagine there's a whole lot of family squabbles going on regarding this, because the expectation of his children was always that Rupert was going to give the Fox family kingdom really down to the next gen, and there were plenty of squabbles going on with that. Rupert had spent quite a bit of time working his siblings out of the business, working his own mother out of the business, and then allowing his own kids to kind of fight this out. There was multiple marriages involved, and you know, if you want to read into a soap opera of family business, this is a good one and an interesting one. But I think it illustrates one key point, is that if you're the next gen coming along and you can't get things resolved and you feel like you're entitled to something, remember that at the end of the day, if mom and dad are running this thing, they could decide just to sell the whole thing and be done with it. Sell the whole thing, get a check, they've got the cash, and then they'll split up the cash however they darn well want to spend the cash, and that'll be the end of the story. So in this case, Rupert has several siblings who were expecting to play key and prominent roles inside of the kingdom here, will now no longer even have a job. And I don't know how much of his cash will roll with them. Maybe they don't need a job. Several of them have been successful on their own anyway, and so it doesn't really matter. But the point is certainly illustrative, not only of the dynamics of a family system and how difficult it can be to wage in those waters, but at the end of the day, if mom or dad decide to cash out, that's also an opportunity. They may decide not to have a succession event. So I'll leave this article up here anyway, even though you won't see me posting a whole lot from sources like this. Here's another source that hit an article called Succession Plans for Family Business, a lot more than numbers. It was an article out there on the news wires. Several agencies picked up on it. This one, Finance and Commerce, they didn't write the article. They picked up on the syndication here, and it was written by Christine Hansen. Just a good, solid, basic article about family business succession in general, how ubiquitous it is, and some of the other issues that come along with it. Not real great depth. You'll see an article like this about every month, if not every week, out there in some form or fashion. So I'll post it out there. You can read through it. If you're not used to reading these sorts of things, you can start your process here and get started with it and click on some things there. I just found it to be an interesting read on a number of fronts. Pretty common. Then we bounce to the UK here. Business Matters is, they say, the UK's leading SME, that stands for Small Medium-Sized Enterprise, a business magazine. Here, their article about more than a quarter of family business owners are concerned their company will die out when they retire. So this article goes to the next level of depth, where we're concentrated on issues and concerns about incumbent generation versus the next gen, and how they think very differently. So there's a lot of conversation floating around the media and out there about the millennial generation, the Generation Z group, a lot of entitlement in that group, a lot of different concerns that they have versus their parents, and what does that mean in general? Do they even want to take on the work ethic that it may be involved in running a family business? In this particular case, it talks about a lot of them wanting to start their own business. They want to be in charge. They want to be the ones that created their business, and they don't want to necessarily be under the shadow of the existing family business, which I think to me speaks to the, if you'll excuse the term, ignorance of the younger generation, not really knowing or understanding just how much work went into getting the family business to where it is today. And that's a critical problem that we're going to address here in 2018 in some of our courses that will be coming online, and some of our other various programs that we're currently developing, including an AIR Academy. That's spelled H-E-I-R Academy, where we're going to offer training to the next generation out there, not necessarily for a degree, but if you need someone to have a fast-track training program to get them up to speed fast on what it takes to create dividends in your business. And this is particularly going to be a course for non-business students. They could be music majors or engineers out there who don't really understand what a bottom line even is or where a dividend comes from. Then that's kind of what the AIR Academy is all about. And I think when they get a greater understanding of how hard it was to get the family business to where it is, I think it's going to be a lot easier for them to introduce their new ideas once they have an ability to honor the past. And so we stress that very highly. I stress it highly in my courses. I stress it highly with clients, with family businesses that I meet with and that we interact with. So great stuff there. I'm going to leave you with the final tab, which is a fascinating report from PwC Global, and it's their 2017 Next Gen study. And this thing is loaded with information. So you can scroll down here. Right here on the first page is a few-minute video here giving their key findings for the generation study that you can look at, which basically gives you an outline or overview. So they studied a lot of the next gen and compared and contrasted using scientific methodologies. They've broken down the next gen into different groups called entrepreneurs, transformers, intrapreneurs, and stewards, and they kind of walk you through each one so you kind of get an introduction to what your next gen may look like and see if your next gen folks fit into one or more of these categories, and they likely fit into more than one of these categories. And we can scroll on down here, discover more about innovation, professionalism, the new digital media that's coming on, diversification, social responsibility. This thing is packed, and you get some more videos down here to help walk you through some of the content. It's really a terrific piece, and I don't have time to give it its due, but I'm going to share the link with you down here in the comments, so check it out, read it. I'm going to check it out over this Christmas break and try to absorb some more of it, and maybe cut a new video in January that unpacks it a little bit more, that might give you a nicer overview so that you can go down and give it even greater depth if you choose to. Down here on their other links, you've got a really neat program called the Next Gen Club, which is kind of a global thing. It's not, I don't see a whole lot of activity here in the U.S. for it, but that's just a matter of time, because I think this is something that's needed out there, and we may even launch it here for our Central Texas and Texas clients. There's also, so you can check that out, and most of the information you'll see on this link has to do with what's going on in the UK and surrounding regional areas, but the Next Gen Club is an interesting idea. It should probably be brought to the US too, and I'm sure PwC US is going to do just that. The Next Generation survey here from 2016, their last year's survey, you can click on here and get that if you want to compare and contrast as well. And then here's some information on a 2014 survey. So PwC is doing quite a bit of homework out there on family businesses, and if you want to dig down deep into the weeds and find out some more information, you may certainly do so. We are as well, and so we can enjoy having that discussion in greater depth down the road, maybe in another video. So give me some comments, let you know, is this the kind of content that makes sense for you? You more than likely, the intent here is that you don't probably have time to search and look for all these different sources, so I can do that, we can do that here, and cull it down a little bit into some more bite-sized format, something that you can listen to over a 15 to 30 minute time frame here with the video, or if you can hear it on the audio feature of it. Maybe we do it once a month, maybe we do it once a week, or somewhere in between that makes the most sense. At any rate, this is our initial foray into that media. Hope you enjoy it. Have a wonderful holiday season, and from us to you, have a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year, and we will see you in January 2018. Take care.